And error occurred. Occurred with Facebook. Wait a minute, try again. Huh. An error has occurred on Facebook. Imagine that. Screw you, Facebook. Screw you, little red-headed monkey man. Oh, we're live. Oh, hey, what's up, Zucks? What's up, Dean?
Hey, howdy.
So what's new in the world of copywriting for you today?
Oh man, I'm working on my wife's offer right now. So I'm writing a webinar.
Oh, webinar, huh? Is it a sales webinar? Is it a content webinar? Is it an interview? What type of webinar is there, Dino?
It's a sales webinar.
Oh, and what are you selling?
We are selling Astrology Pro Accelerator.
Okay, cool. So and that teaches me how to be a professional astrologist?
Yes, astrologer or astrologist, whatever you prefer, and how to create a business out of it and get paid $100 to $300 an hour.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Hook, huh? Pretty strong hook.
I like it. I want to be an astrologist.
All right.
Do you think I could make it as an astrologist?
Oh man, yeah. I think you'd have to temper the way you give advice.
I have a really bad temper. I don't think I'd need to make it any worse.
This is what I'm talking about.
There you go.
Yes, if you're open to that sort of thing, absolutely.
No, I wouldn't be a good anything related to that. So
I know, because you'd be looking at the chart and going, I'm sorry, you're a mess.
Oh, I was just going to say, or worse. I'm sorry, you suck as a human being, and it's really time to give up.
Yeah, the planets can't help you at all.
In fact, I hope a planet falls on your house.
Well, I do know you're a Sagittarian.
Well, there you go. But I'm a registered Democrat.
I doubt that highly.
And other urban myths.
Yeah. Exactly.
So what's really the key to putting together a great webinar there, Dino? What are you focusing on right now? Because there's a lot of moving parts.
Absolutely. So the number one thing to focus on is, what is that hook? What's that big domino? What are you trying to, right? What is it? What's that one big hook that's going to get people to buy, to pay attention, to join, to even take notice, to get them to sign up? So I'm happy to share with you.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
The hook of this. All right.
Yeah.
Here's the hook. I'll tell you. Boom.
Patty says, are the chickens being fed? Haven't seen. Yeah, I did the first letting the chickens out with Jim in a long time this morning. They're in their new digs. They got a whole new house at the water. They're living the life of Riley, assuming that Riley was living a good life. So there you go.
There you have it. So the hook, here it is. Astrology Pro Secrets. How to become a professional astrologer and get paid $100 to $300 per hour in as little as 8 weeks.
Okay. I like it. Has that been tested?
Not yet.
Okay.
It actually has been tested when Elaine was doing her high-end coaching. There was something similar to this, except it included certification because it was coaching. So we just took the certification piece out of it, which we might do as an upsell. And we're just going to do this so people get, this is a do-it-yourself training and masterclass. So, and Jim, we got over, just by running the same Facebook ad, we didn't have to change anything. We got, in several weeks, 1,100 opt-ins.
Holy crap.
Yes. So that told us, running a Facebook ad, spending about $20 a day. I think we were doing $20 a day, that we got
Mhm.
all of those that told us, okay, this is a message that is speaking to the market.
Cool. That's awesome. So, so instead of doing it like a high ticket offer where you're selling them, you're going to send them to a evergreen webinar, or is it
Yes.
is this first one going to be live, or how are you going
Yes.
to do that?
It's going to be live until we nail it and get it right.
Okay.
And then we will go evergreen.
Are you
And
going to
so
do it every week for a while, or
yes. Yep.
what? Okay.
Do it once a week, either on Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay. And then just keep advertising it for a week and doing it that way.
Just keep doing Facebook. We'll go first to Elaine's list, because there's like several thousand on Elaine's list right now, and a lot of them didn't take the high ticket coaching. So now, because of the price point, this is going to be way more attractive. If we're looking at like $9.97 or $14.97, and I think that there'll be a lot of people taking it from the list. We'll see how we'll drive them to the live webinar, see how the webinar goes. And I have to tell you, like with anything, when you're so close to this is not easy, writing your own webinar.
Nope.
It is not. I know, and you and I wrote our webinar.
I just said that. I know it's not.
It's not. However, you know what was fun and easy? When you and I
what's fun and easy? I bet writing all the copy to promote it and follow up after it, and all the abandoned cart sequences and all of the everything to indoctrinate the folks. Who wants to do that by hand? Not me, not this fella.
But it is. Here's the thing. Writing this thing, I'm getting through like maybe a couple of slides a day, because I get into the weeds. I look at the slide and then I start writing the notes and the script for that slide, right?
I know. I'm right there with you, dude.
I know. However, I want to say this. When you and I wrote the Fill My Webinar scripts, that thing came together in less than 2 hours. It was so much fun writing it. I don't know how it came together, but it did really fast. And I guess it's because we were working so intensely on creating the thing for 6 months, right?
Right.
That we just knew it so intimately.
Right. And we understood our avatar really well. And, it's funny you say the creation of the webinar is really hard. And I'm not in the middle of creating a webinar right now, but I am in the middle of creating a talk that I have to give in front of a couple thousand people next Wednesday at 9:30 in the morning. Not like I have a deadline or anything. And it'll be live from the stage. And it's like Dexter came over yesterday to the New World headquarters, and which still has boxes everywhere, but it was still a lot of fun. And it's funny because he's like beating on me like, dude, it just needs to say that. Just no. I need to talk about this. And then I had this story I wanted to tell here. And he's like, dude, you only have 30 minutes. You can't. Yeah. But I want to tell this and I don't. And we want to hang on to our babies. Whereas a stranger, what's up, Safina 808, aloha. The problem is when it's ours, it's hard to let it go. But
it really is.
I woke. So I've been working on it for a while, off and on, as you think about it, as men do. So I woke up last night, no lie, man, 12:30. Bing! Oh, snap! What? And then I'm all worried about it. I'm like playing this part over and over and over in my head. I'm like, I got it. It's like the middle of the presentation. Oh my God. And it's like that's obsessive thoughts. Would just keep going over and over and over. And finally, you're like, shut up to yourself. Yeah. And so I tried to read a book to make it shut up. Then I tried rolling over, and I didn't get any action that way. And so I kept reading my book, and then I got up, walked around a little bit, and I finally got back to sleep at 2:30. Then my little alarm goes off at 5:01. But it did come pouring out of me about 5:13. I had the answer that I was looking for. I had been so focused on everything. And you know what? irritated me was that 90% of it was all the stuff that Dexter had been just telling me, as far as what to do and keeping it short, keeping it simple and everything. But I was able to, as of lunchtime today, I got the complete outline of the thing is done. So,
Great.
And I'm doing it a little differently this time because I'm not actually going to be doing it with a PowerPoint. I'm going to be doing it completely with a whiteboard on stage.
Oh, you're as soon as that digital pen gets in your hand and you hit, it's like a wrestling match.
No, it
right?
ain't a digital pen. It's a whiteboard. I'm going to be
whatever.
on stage,
Okay, so
like sniffing the thing. Like,
right. Still,
okay.
You'll be high as a kite.
Now.
But as soon as you take the cap off, you're going to be home. You're going to be in your element, and all those jitters and all of that head talk and psychobabble is just going to go away.
Well, and I'm
that's
also
where you
going
live.
to
live
but I'm
in there.
I'm also going to stand up there with a page of notes. That's how I do it. If you don't like how I do it, then don't pay attention. But I'm going to have a 1 page of notes, and I'm going to have my notes, even though I barely ever look at them, but it just makes me feel better. I've got them. I'm going to write my thing. I'm going to tell my story, and I'm going to invite the folks at the end to do a little something in their best.
So when you're doing a presentation like this, a lot, whether it's stage or whether it's webinar, because a lot of them have very similar frameworks, right? If you're, especially when you're selling, and I don't know if you're selling or if you're just teaching.
I'm selling them on signing up for a training.
Okay, great. So you're selling. So I'm going to ask you a question here, because for me, I'm finding when I'm so close to it, this is where I'm kind of having some of the challenges is that, okay, if I can substitute, if I can pull out teaching and educating and insert a story, right? But I'm going, okay,
yes,
story can I tell to illustrate
I've got several
stories. Does that come to you easily? Do the stories come to you easily? Because that's where I am. Because anytime I can tell a story instead of teach, I want to do that.
Yeah. Does it come to me easily, or do I know that I need to do it?
Okay. Well, first, you need to do it. So
okay, I'm not being a smart ass. I'm asking.
I know that the selling will go way better
if you tell stories.
The less I teach and the more I tell a story. Because that gives the audience the opportunity to create their own story or to empathize or to relate in their own world. Like, yeah.
Now I understand. So the question is, does that come easily to me, or do I struggle with coming up with the right story?
Yes.
Okay. So in the beginning, I struggle with coming up with the right story. But what I have learned is that I put myself this is going to sound weird, but I did it yesterday on purpose. So one of the things that Dexter and I do is every Monday we teach a mentorship call for the John Maxwell folks at the higher level. So I get 50 opportunities a year to experiment on people. Now I'm just playing, to teach people stuff. So yesterday I said, you know what? I've got these different things, these different points that I need to illustrate. I'm just going to start slinging stories against the wall and see what hits. And, I've got some story, because when you think of a story, until you actually tell it a few times and get some reaction, it's a great story in your mind until it falls flat in front of the audience. And so you never want to tell a story for the first time in a way when it's really counting. You want to experiment with telling the stories. So like I told a story about, I was trying to illustrate the point that everybody and their brother needs to do more lead generation. I mean, the reason why Elaine has a list that you guys can announce this to is because she's been doing lead generation. And so I told a story about, you think about lead generation as a pond. So when I was a little kid, I grew up in San Francisco, and I grew up in San Francisco in the late 60s, early 70s. I thought that it was normal for people to live in the park I was running around as a little kid in Haight-Ashbury wearing a tie-dye t-shirt. And I remember we used to bike through Golden Gate Park. And there was this one pond. It had a beautiful bridge over it, but it was green and slimy. And I'm like, Mom, why is that pond so, it's beautiful here, except this pond is green and nasty. Why is this green? She said, because it's stagnant. There's nothing flowing in. There's nothing flowing out. It's just rotting. And so that's that's the same way with leads in your business. If you're not bringing in a new flow and you're not letting some people go, then you're stagnating and everything's going to die. And then I kind of gauged everybody's reaction to that story. And it was kind of lukewarm. It wasn't a really good, wasn't a real good reaction. So I won't use that story. So now what I also realized is that there were three main points that I have to make in one section of my presentation. And I was thinking, I had the preconceived notion that I had to tell three different stories, like each point needed its own story. And what I realized was that actually each point does not need its own story. I can create a story where each point has one big idea, and then there will be a story that kind of brings the whole thing together. And that story is going to be talking about, when my son-in-law was caught got hit by a roadside bomb and we had to make adjustments in our business. What saved us was the great relationship that we had with our customers. But if I had not been focused for so long on the balance of leads and sales and relationships, that if I had just focused on the relationships, I wouldn't have had anybody to have a relationship with. So ultimately, relationships can save your business, but if you're not balanced, you're screwed. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to talk about each one of those is going to have a big idea. Leads have a flow. Sales, you think sales are icky. You might think sales are, I'm a teacher. I'm not a this, I'm a speaker. But the bottom line is that you, what's up, Vicky? What's up, Sonny? What's up, Anna? And then the thing is with if you want to make sales, you just have to learn how to make people an offer they can't refuse. Sales isn't about manipulating people. Sales is about knowing who your avatar is and getting really good at making them an offer that they're like, dang, I got to have this. Is perfect. Thank you. What's up, Pete? So the other thing, and then when we talk about relationships, is that ultimately that's, you got to make money, but what gives you satisfaction is the people and the friends and the friends you make and the people you help along the way. So those are kind of mini stories, if that makes sense, but they help the person to visualize themselves doing it, but not necessarily am I telling a full length story. So we also gotta
it could be anecdotal depending on how long your presentation is, right?
Right. Yeah. And I only have 30 minutes.
Right. So you can look like we were talking about, I think it was last week, or in our mastermind call with our coaching students, we were talking about the 5-minute perfect webinar. That condenses everything. Right. And the story there is like one sentence. It's just anecdotal, but it gets the point across, like you said, with the one big idea.
Right. And you really want to I like how you throw in the tagline for your company right there. The one big idea. So I think it's important, and especially when people hear, hook, story, offer, I got to tell a story. There are a bunch of different ways to tell a story. And then sometimes the definition of story is a little looser than we want to get all really dogmatic, like, it has to be the hero's journey, or it has to be an epiphany bridge or whatever. No, it can just kind of be a story. The whole purpose of telling the story is to implant an idea in somebody's head. That's the purpose of the story, and make them feel like they came to that conclusion or came up with that idea on their own. That's ultimately what you're trying to do.
Right. And you could tell a story if you think of it like even in a joke format. Like Stephen Wright was brilliant at this. The comedian Stephen Wright would tell a story, and that's his whole act was stories and jokes, because he was so visual. I have a map of the world. 1 mile equals 1 mile. It's actual size. You know, so
I put a humidifier and a dehumidifier in my basement. I'm letting them fight it out.
yeah, what happened? What is it? There's
He told a joke
I was-
about
I was-
hooking his brake lights to the accelerator or something.
Oh, he said, I built a house on the median of a highway. Every morning I have to back out at 60 miles an hour. He's got another joke. I was walking down the street and I saw a subliminal advertising executive just for a second.
Nice.
I mean, that's a story right there.
Right. So that's all you're trying to do. And sometimes the story is imparting an idea in a way other than just telling them the idea. You know,
which is teaching.
Right.
In a way, it's instructing and then going, that's just going to lay there. But people remember stories. A lot of people, not everybody remembers a one-liner or something that's really pithy and visual.
Right. And you can use metaphors too. So the thing that I'm going to do, instead of trying to explain to people about being a kid that's, that Haight Ashbury catching a contact buzz at 5 off of, hippies in the park, I'm going to say, leads are like a pond, and it's your reservoir. And if you're not feeding new water into it all the time, that's going to dictate being able to I got to work on it. But I mean, that's the size of your pond is going to dictate the size of your income. And so you have to keep filling that pond.
If it ain't flowing, it ain't growing. It ain't growing.
I like that. If it ain't flowing, it ain't growing. I like that. And the size of your pond matters. Better write that down too.
The quality of your, actually, isn't it the quality of your pond matters and not the size? Because you can have a small list. People think they have to have a big list. And we say this even in our webinar, it's the quality of the pond that matters.
Yeah.
And then I have another question once you're done on this, because I want to hear the rest of your thoughts.
If it ain't flowing, you ain't growing. Ooh, I like that. The quality of your pond. Leads are like pond water. You got to have a flow. You got to have a constant flow. I love that. Thank you, Dean.
Mm-hmm.
Crowdsourcing my presentation. Don't worry, I'll take all the credit for it.
Well, look, it helps because we're so close to it, we can't see. You got Dexter smacking you upside the head, which is great.
Yeah.
So, nobody writes alone.
That is true. So what were you going to ask? I
was going to ask for this presentation, what's your big domino? What's your big domino for this talk?
The big domino is the more you teach them how to do, the less they need to buy from you. That is the big domino. That is the big thought that I got to get away from teaching how-to content and start learning frameworks for how to connect with people, engage people without teaching them how to do stuff. Because the more how-to stuff you give away for free, the less people need to buy from you.
Yeah.
That's the big idea.
So you got to get them away from that, which is if you can knock down that belief that I have to teach to teach a lot in order for that to attract them into my justify my list, into my fold,
and to prove how smart I am and to prove that I'm worthy. And if I teach enough, then people will love me and they'll buy from me. But the opposite is true. Mm-hmm. The more you teach them how to do, the less they need to buy from you because you're giving it all away for free. Nobody buys the milk if the cow's free. They don't. In fact, they get pissed off then if you try and charge them for the milk later. They probably shoot your cow, barbecue it, and then try and burn your house down.
I will never forget the time. Miss O'Leary, 1871 Chicago. Perry, I was on, this was like 15 years ago, I think, when Perry Belcher and Orion Dice, they partnered with, do you remember Mary Ellen Tribby?
Vaguely.
She brought up, it was a newsletter and just took a newsletter from a couple million to like 30 million in the matter of a few months. Early to Rise. That was the name of the newsletter.
Okay.
So Traffic and Conversion partnered with Mary Ellen Tribby, and they did a webinar, and it ran like 2.5 hours long. And I'm a huge Perry Belcher fan. So I was on the webinar, and they sold more in that webinar, on that webinar, than they've ever sold before and since.
Wow.
And Perry talks about
I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that webinar.
So, and I remember it so distinctly because, and Perry said, this blew every other webinar away. And the reason is that I went back and we looked at it. He said, we didn't teach one thing. All we did was talk and tell stories. We had a conversation. It was me and I think he and Ryan were on with Mary Ellen Tribby, and they just were talking about stories related to the topic. And the sales went gonzos without even teaching. All stories, all conversation.
Interesting. Okay, well, I got to go.
All right.
That was good stuff. That was very good stuff. I like that. Do you happen to have a link to a replay of that?
Man, if I could, you know what? I'm going to reach out to Perry and see if they do.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'd like to see it.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining us. If you want to learn how to write amazing copy, head on over to copywritingsecrets.com. I'll send you a free copy of my book.
And if you don't want to learn how to write amazing copy and you want to hire somebody to write amazing copy,
head on over to
onebigIdeamarketing.com.
That's right. And if you'd like to know how to get more butts in seats, get more signups, get more show ups, and get more sales from any type of online event you might do, interviews, webinars, live, Zooms, any of that good stuff, head on over to fillmywebinarscripts.com.
And here's a little teaser, Jim. I thought of another email sequence we can put in there.
Ruh-roh.
You're going to love it.
I bet I will. All right. Sounds good.
All righty.
All right. See y'all soon. Bye.